Losing the baby weight can seem seriously daunting, but it doesn't have to. If you know what foods to be putting into your body, you can lose that a lot faster than you might suspect. Hi guys, I'm Carly and I make videos on passive weight loss by means of whole food plant-based nutrition. I particularly like to help new mommies get back to their pre-baby weight. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 major things you should look for each and every time you're making a food choice, or grocery shopping, or meal planning, or cooking for your family. Not only are these foods good for you and those weight loss goals, but they're also going to nourish your brand new baby. So the first type of food you want to make sure you're including in your diet is whole foods. The more you process a food, the higher you're increasing its caloric density. So let's take oatmeal, for instance. If you're using some of those instant oatmeal packages that are super highly processed and hold a ton of sugar and like freeze-dried strawberries and stuff, that is not going to be conducive to your weight loss goals. Now, if you're taking unhulled whole oats, these are going to help you lose weight because the whole oat is intact. So when you eat the whole oat as opposed to the processed oat, it's going to be digested through your system much more slowly and gradually, creating more of a slow insulin release. And when you eat those processed foods, you're gonna get that spike in insulin, which is one of the fat storage hormones. So it tells your body store whenever you're eating something that's like a high glycemic food or a food that's going to increase your blood sugar, as with processed foods as opposed to whole foods. So these whole foods also have a lower caloric density because the fiber that's intact in these particular foods are going to hold on to some of those calories, not allowing your body to digest and absorb them. So ultimately you're eating a certain amount of calories, but you're not absorbing that same amount of calories. You're actually only absorbing a percentage of those calories. So just some things to keep in mind when you're making those food choices the next time you go grocery shopping. Whole foods. I know this is going to be a time period in your life where convenience foods are going to be the most tempting because you are so busy and you are so stressed out. But I promise you, you will feel a million times better if you stick to eating whole natural foods, inside and out. So the second thing you're going to focus on are high nutrient foods. These are going to be things like fresh produce and those whole grains that we just spoke about, and potatoes and rice. It's going to be those whole unprocessed natural foods. So these go hand in hand. Coincidentally, the foods that tend to hold the highest nutrients also hold the least amount of calories. So by nature, these are going to be incredibly conducive to weight loss. You can literally eat produce all day long and still lose weight because there's so much nutrition packed into these little plants. Having a lot of nutrition in each and every food that you choose is going to tell your body that you've had plenty to eat. When you're eating something that's super processed or that has been stripped of its nutrition, like commercial breakfast cereals or granolas or pastries or cookies and cakes, crackers, those kinds of things, your body's going to keep sending you signals that it's hungry when it's actually had plenty to eat. It just isn't getting the nutrients it needs. So when you eat high nutrient foods, your body needs a lot less in order to maintain its normal daily functions. So you're gonna feel full a lot quicker and a lot longer eating these high nutrient natural foods. If these tips are helpful, make sure you check out my full guide on how to lose this baby weight. I go over every different aspect you're gonna need to know when it comes to getting rid of these pounds for good. So I'll link that video right here. So the third thing I'm gonna talk about is choosing high fiber foods. Now, I kind of already touched on this one, but I cannot emphasize it enough. Fiber is going to be your best friend when it comes to weight loss. So like I semi-mentioned, when you eat high fiber foods, those calories are going to be so tightly packaged together with the other fats and proteins and carbs and vitamins and minerals that you're actually only absorbing a percentage of those calories, as opposed to low fiber foods that are easily taken into the bloodstream and absorbed by your body. So high fiber foods are things like beans, lentils, oats, rice, quinoa, corn, fruits and veggies, nuts and seeds even have a little fiber. But you should also be aware of the foods that do not contain fiber, things like animal products. So all your meats, dairy, eggs, those literally contain 0 fiber. So something to think about when you're choosing your items in the grocery store. The fourth thing I'm going to talk about is actually just as important as having high fiber content. It's having high water content. So these are going to, again, be those whole natural foods. The more you process a food, the more of the moisture and the water you are removing from it, because in essence, that is what's going to allow the food to decompose and rot and not have a long shelf life, and therefore not be found in those most popular areas of the grocery store. Your high water containing foods are going to be those fruits and veggies first and foremost. And then grains and legumes, nuts and seeds also have some water content. Research has shown that it's not so much the amount of calories that you eat in a given day that stays consistent from day to day, but it's actually the volume of food. People tend to eat between 3 to 5 pounds of food every single day. So regardless of where you're getting those pounds from, you're going to be eating the same quantity of food, independent of calories. So what does this mean exactly? This means that you can be eating 10 hamburgers or the same volume in broccoli, and it's going to register the same on at least a volumetric perception in your stretch receptors in your stomach. Your body's very attuned to getting a certain amount of food every day. So whether you're putting in tomatoes or hamburgers, it's going to feel a similar amount of fullness. So basically you can eat a smaller quantity of like these fruits and veggies that hold a ton of water, or you can eat a very small quantity of these hamburgers and cookies and cakes and likely overindulge in those higher calorie items. Water is what helps you feel full. It's what helps your tummy expand, sending those receptors to your brain saying, we've had enough to eat, I'm stuffed. So look for those high water containing foods. The last thing I'm going to talk about is choosing whole plant foods. Now, I'm sure you've already noticed this trend with the initial 4 topics, but plants are going to be your best friend when it comes to weight loss because they're so low in calories, but yet they're so high in nutrition, which is the very opposite of, say, animal products or processed foods. Those are going to be super high calorie, super low nutrient content. So think about that every time you plan a meal. Lower calorie with more nutrition obviously leads to a greater ease of weight loss. So you want to include as many nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes, fruits, veggies, and herbs and spices into your diet as possible. And this doesn't have to be an all or nothing, although I definitely recommend eating more on the whole food plant-based end of the spectrum. The more plants you include in your diet, the quicker and more efficiently you're going to lose this weight. And when you get to the other end of the spectrum, the more animal products you include in your diet, the slower and more difficult it's going to be to lose this weight. Although animal industries want you to believe that their products are high in protein, yes, they are high in protein, but most of their calories come from fat. So what you're doing is you're focusing on those high protein foods, which tend to hold a ton of fat. The less fat you can have in your diet right now, the better when it comes to weight loss. But that doesn't mean you should cut out fat completely. That just means that you should eat fat in its whole healthy natural form. So things like nuts and seeds, avocados. More specifically, flax and chia seeds are shown to hold the most omega-3s, and those are the essential fatty acids that your body needs. But if you eat a whole food plant-based diet, you don't have to worry about any of this. You just eat whole natural plant foods and the weight comes off. So I hope this video was helpful. Be sure to check out my full guide on losing the baby weight because it gives you step by step all the things that you're gonna have to do to lose this weight quickly, efficiently, and sustainably. I'll see you guys in the next one.